Think clowns should stick to birthday parties? Think again. Imagine the galaxy's deadliest aliens schooled by a master of slapstick, turning their might into mutual laughter. What if a joke could save humanity? This isn't your usual hero's tale. It's humor as our last, best hope. As the clown navigates treacherous corridors of an alien mothership, you'll laugh, cry, and gasp. Curious about how laughter can topple an empire? Don't miss the showdown. Stay tuned, the punchline is out of this world. Carl Snickers Thompson stood on the crumbling steps of what used to be Central Elementary. The air reeked of burning rubber and ozone. Alien ships, their sleek, dark forms glaring beneath the sun, littered the sky like all the stars had fallen in broad daylight. The Zarkan Empire was here and Earth didn't stand a chance. Typical Monday. "Snickers, get your clown shoes over here," barked General Hodgkins through the crackly comms unit. Carl sauntered over, trying to hide his annoyance. A goddamn circus clown? And now they wanted him to teach aliens? Apparently his charm was universal. "You know I'm not actually a qualified teacher, right?" Carl quipped, his dark eyes flashing beneath his faded red nose. The general's face twisted into something like a grimace. "You're the closest thing we've got to a diplomat, Thompson. Just get in there, make them laugh, and, I don't know, teach them something. Anything." Hodgkin's desperation was pitiful. Carl entered the makeshift classroom, an old bunker hastily converted for educational purposes. A dozen Zarkon youths with their glossy, blue-tinted skin sat haughtily, their red eyes narrowing in disinterest. The room fell silent as he approached the front. "Good morning, kids. I'm Snickers, your new teacher," he began, forcing a grin. The response was a chorus of alien snickers, ironic and sarcastic. One of the taller aliens, probably their leader, shot up from his seat, his thin lips curling. "Human clown, we are Zarkons. We need no education from you." "Wow, tough crowd. What's your name, big guy?" Carl's tone was light, though nerves bubbled beneath. The alien puffed up, his voice dripping disdain. "I am Viklaw, son of Commander Xylox. You are inferior." Carl chuckled, a dark laugh that bounced off the walls. "Well, Viklaw, let's make a deal. You give me a chance, and if I don't impress you by day's end, you can tell your daddy to vaporize me. Deal?" The suggestion was met with murmurs of interest and doubt among the students. Eventually, Viklaw sat down, arms crossed. "Fine, one day." Carl launched into an impromptu lesson on Earth history, peppering it with sardonic jokes and exaggerated mime routines, a remnant of his circus days. Lila, who Carl noticed was observing him more intently than the others, let out a small giggle, a victory, however small. By lunch, Carl's dark humor had chipped away at their collective skepticism. He juggled alien tech devices, cracking jokes about their resemblance to earthly oddities. Even cynical Viklaw leaned forward, unwillingly sucked into Carl's magnetic chaos. "All right, break time. Go, do whatever it is you aliens do," Carl announced, collapsing into a chair. The Zarkan youths scattered, chattering amongst themselves. The bunker felt a little less hostile, progress, however slight. As Carl sipped a weak cup of coffee, Lila approached, her large eyes filled with curiosity. "You're not what we expected, clown," she said softly, her English surprisingly fluent. "Trust me, Lila, I'm not what anyone expects," Carl responded, smirking. "Why the interest in human comedy anyway?" She shrugged. "It's strange. We don't have anything like it. Your species finds light in darkness. It's peculiar." Carl nodded. "Well, stick around, kid. You might learn a thing or two about more than just comedy." He winked, but the weight of her words stayed with him. As the afternoon lessons continued, Carl began to weave in lessons on empathy and cooperation, using humor as his vehicle. The Zarkan students seemed more receptive, their hostility melting bit by bit. Even Viklaw, though resistant, couldn't completely shield himself from Carl's relentless charm. By day's end, the tension in the room had shifted to something more tangible: hope. As the students filed out, Carl leaned against the doorframe, watching them go. He had a lot of work ahead, but for the first time, a flicker of optimism danced through his thoughts. If he could get through to these alien kids, Maybe there was hope for all of them. Tomorrow, the real show would begin. Carl snickers. Thompson felt a twitch in his left eye as he stood before his class for the second day. The Zarkin students were back, but the air was still thick with skepticism. As he set up a hologram projector, Vikla watched him closely, arms crossed, and an expression that screamed, "You're wasting my time." Carl straightened up and plastered on his best clown grin. "All right, folks, today we're diving into the wonders of Earth literature. Get ready to be astounded, or at least mildly interested," Vikla scoffed. "Human stories are weak. They lack the strength of Zarkon epics." Carl chuckled darkly. "True, we don't have tales of giant space lizards swallowing star systems whole, but we do have Shakespeare. Ever heard of a tragic flaw, Vikla? What's the use of emotion in battle?" Carl's eyes narrowed slightly. "Emotion isn't for battle. It's for why you battle. You fight for glory, power, you name it. We fight for love, for hope, sometimes even for a decent taco." The students, while still stony-faced, were quieter today, listening. Carl activated the projector and Hamlet's soliloquy floated in the air. He read it aloud, his voice ebbing and flowing with passion, a stark contrast to the room's cold, clinical feel. Lila's eyes glinted with curiosity. "Your stories? They're about problems, weaknesses." "That's right, kiddo. They reveal the core of humanity, and apparently Zarkons too, if you look beneath those scary exteriors." He wasn't sure if the joke would land, but it was worth a shot. Commander Xylox watched the classroom through a hidden monitor, his face a mask of disapproval. "Human clown indeed. This is a waste of tactical preparation," he muttered, unaware that Carl's random theatrics were actually planting seeds of doubt and curiosity in his young soldiers. As the class continued, Carl introduced more Earth concepts. He saw Lila taking notes diligently, while Vikla's frown deepened with every passing minute. Carl decided it was time for a more hands-on approach. "All right, everyone up. Time for an acting exercise. We're going to improvise a scene. Lila, you're the queen. Vikla, you're the knight. Let's see what you've got." Reluctantly, the students stood. The improvised scene was awkward, full of pauses and mechanical recitations. But Carl noticed something interesting. Lila was not bad at acting, and Vikla's stiffness was less about arrogance and more about insecurity. "Good effort, team. Remember, it's not just about words, it's about feeling them. Now imagine those feelings fueling your actions in life or, purely hypothetically, in battle." Vikla's eyes widened for a fraction of a second before narrowing suspiciously. "You're not just teaching stories, are you?" Carl smirked, leaning on his chair. "Clever boy. Stories are our greatest tool. They change minds, build empathy. Imagine a soldier who understands his enemy, not just their weapons, but their hearts. Makes you think differently." As the class progressed, Carl felt the atmosphere shift. There was still heavy resistance, but cracks were appearing. The walls of contempt and superiority were not impenetrable. Later, as the session wrapped up, Lila approached Carl again, this time with genuine interest. "You said humans fight for love and hope? Is that really true?" Carl's smile softened. "Yeah, Lila. It's messy and complicated, but it's true. I've seen men risk everything for someone else's smile. Sounds foolish, but it's our foolishness that makes us strong." She tilted her head, processing. Vikla, overhearing, sneered but didn't walk away. Carl saw it as progress, a tiny rift in the fortress of Zarkan pride. Carl watched the students leave, feeling a small flicker of satisfaction. If even one Zarkan saw humans as more than pests, then he was one step closer to a real change. He sighed, rolling his shoulders. "Rome wasn't built in a day," he muttered to himself. Returning to his Spartan quarters, he found a small, unmarked envelope on his cot. Inside was a note. "Eyes are watching, tread carefully." Carl's grin widened. Looks like he was getting through to someone, and the game was only just beginning. Carl Snickers Thompson rubbed his hands together, feeling the weight of anticipation. Day 3 was make or break. The note in his pocket served as both a warning and a motivator. Someone was watching, and that meant he was getting close. He entered the classroom where the Zarkan students sat, their alien faces inscrutable but attentive. Good morning, Space Cadets. Today we talk strategy, Carl announced, pacing the room like a general inspecting his troops. Viclaw rolled his eyes. Human strategy? Pathetic. Pathetically brilliant, you mean? Carl retorted with a wink. Ever hear of David and Goliath? Lila, enlighten your big friend here, will ya? Lila hesitated, then recited, David was a small human who defeated a giant warrior named Goliath, with just a sling and a stone. Viclaw snorted. Impossible! Giants cannot be defeated by stones. Carl leaned in, eyes sparkling with mischief. But they can be defeated by brains, kiddo. The stone's just a metaphor. It's about wit over brute strength. And today we're going to play a game, chess. He set up a large holographic chessboard in the center of the room. It gleamed with anticipation, the pieces representing Earth and Zarkan soldiers. This, my alien amigos, is war in miniature. It's all about outthinking your opponent. Carl felt the tension in the room shift into something more engaging. The students gathered around, curiosity piqued. Lila, Viclaw, you're up first, he declared, hustling them to the board. As the game unfolded, Carl's dark humor colored his commentary. Ooh, a bold move, Lila, but beware Viclaw's queen. She's got murderous intent. Watching them play, Carl noticed their competitive spirits ignite. They argued, strategized, and, most importantly, they thought. The rest of the class observed, whispering amongst themselves, their interest piqued. The mind games transcended cultural boundaries. The final move was a surprising checkmate by Lila. Viclaw grunted, clearly frustrated. Carl clapped his hands, breaking the tension. Well done, you two. Now what did you learn? Viclaw stared at the board, his fists clenched. I learned that even smaller pieces can create problems if you don't think ahead. Carl nodded, a grin spreading across his face. Exactly. Now apply that to everything. Think ahead, understand the other side, and you'll always have the upper hand. Following the lesson, as the students dispersed for a break, Carl took a moment to approach Lila. You did great, kid. Ever thought about how humor can be a part of strategy? Lila looked puzzled. Humor? How? Carl's tone softened, becoming more serious. Humor disarms people. It makes them underestimate you. They see a clown, they don't see the mind working behind the mask. It's one of our greatest weapons. She nodded thoughtfully, absorbing the words. Like you, then? He laughed darkly. Exactly like me. The session resumed with an unexpected visit from Commander Xylox himself. His presence cast a cold pall over the room. Carl felt the shift immediately, but he straightened his spine and faced the commander with a lazy salute. Commander, what brings you to my humble classroom? Xylox's voice was authoritative, each word a declaration. I've come to ensure that these lessons are beneficial to our cause, clown. Carl chuckled internally. Beneficial indeed. Of course, Commander. We were just discussing how empathy and understanding can turn the tides of battle. Xylox's eyes narrowed. Alien concepts. Let us see if your human methods have any merit. He turned to his son, Viclaw. Do you see any value in this education? Viclaw glanced at Carl, then back at his father. A minuscule pause later, he answered, Yes, father. There is value in understanding our enemy. Xylox seemed momentarily taken aback but masked it quickly. Very well, continue, clown, but remember, I am watching. As the commander left, the room exhaled a collective breath. Carl's heart pounded, but he kept his cool. He gathered the students again, leaning in conspiratorially. Remember this day, kids. Even giants can be reasoned with, given the right leverage. The day ended with a precarious sense of progress. Carl knew he was playing a dangerous game. But every day, the Zarkan students were learning more than just Earth's history and culture. They were learning about themselves. And that, he mused with a sardonic smile, was a victory worth celebrating. Carl Snickers Thompson could feel the electricity in the air. It was the day of reckoning. The mission that had been brewing beneath the surface of his makeshift classroom was about to come to life. He gathered his students, their alien eyes gleaming with a mix of fear and excitement. All right, troops, Carl began, his voice a low, conspiratorial murmur. Today's lesson is a bit different. We're done with theory. Time for some field work. Viclaw's eyes hardened with intrigue. What is the mission, clown? Carl held up a holographic map of the alien mothership, highlighting the command center. We're hitting them where it hurts, their command. Our target is Commander Xylox's flagship. We disrupt their operations, Force them to negotiate. Lila's hands shot up. But how? We're just students. Flesh and bones. Carl's lip curled into a dark grin. You're students, sure. But you're also the smartest assets we have. Remember chess? Think 7 steps ahead. This isn't just a fight, it's a dance. And I'm leading. As they prepped their gear, Carl glanced at the note in his pocket. The mysterious warning was still there, but his mind was locked on the task at hand. He briefed the students on their roles. Vic Claw would handle the internal security systems, using his knowledge of Zarkan technology. Lila would relay real-time intel. The rest would execute distraction maneuvers, their abilities perfectly suited for causing controlled chaos. Carl led them through twisting corridors toward the hangar bay, keeping their movements stealthy yet purposeful. When they arrived, a sleek Zarkan shuttle stood waiting, its dark hull glinting under the hangar lights. Vic Claw took the pilot's seat, his hands moving over the controls with practiced ease. The engines roared to life, a low hum of impending action. The skyline of Earth faded into a void of stars as they ascended into space. Tension thickened like fog in the shuttle's cramped interior. Lila's voice crackled over their headsets. Approaching the mothership, shields and defenses are active. Carl's heart pounded. This was it. Vic Claw, initiate the cloaking sequence. Lila, get ready to jam their sensors. The shuttle shimmered and vanished from sight, a ghost slipping past enemy lines. Carl couldn't help but feel a thrill. They were really doing this. A circus clown and a bunch of alien kids infiltrating the most powerful ship in the fleet. Dark comedy at its finest. They landed with a barely perceptible thud inside the mothership. Carl motioned for silence as they advanced through dimly lit corridors, avoiding patrols and surveillance cameras. They reached the control room, where a pair of Zarkan guards stood vigil. With a swift, silent signal, Vic Claw disabled the cameras. Carl moved like a shadow, his years in the circus honing his agility. He took down one guard with a chokehold, while Lila, surprising herself, incapacitated the other with a precise strike. Inside the control room, Carl found the main console. Okay, team, let's rewrite the script. Vic Claw, you're up. The young Zarkan's fingers danced over the alien interface, bypassing protocols faster than Carl could comprehend. Accessing command override, disabling primary defense grids. Perfect, Carl murmured. Lila, send a signal to Earth's fleet. Tell them now's their chance. Lila's hands were steady as she transmitted the message. Message sent, fleet is mobilizing. Carl felt a surge of pride. These kids, the ones who had mocked him days ago, were now essential cogs in a plan that could save their worlds. Prepare for their counterattack, and remember, humor disarms. He winked at Lila, trying to lighten the incredible tension. They didn't have to wait long. Alarms blared, red lights flashing. The door burst open and in strode Commander Xylox, his imposing figure casting a long shadow, his face twisted in fury. You dare infiltrate my ship? Carl stepped forward, meeting the commander's gaze with a smirk. Guess the joke's on you, Xylox. We're here to negotiate. Stand down and let's talk terms. Or, we could continue this farce. Xylox's eyes darted to his son, Vic Claw, and then back to Carl. The commander's fury was palpable, but there was a flicker of something else, a reluctant respect. You've got guts, clown. Very well, let's parley. Carl exhaled a breath he didn't realize he was holding. They had a foothold. The rest would hinge on what he could negotiate in the control room now shadowed in tension, but also unexpected hope. Carl Snickers Thompson stood his ground as the looming figure of Commander Xylox filled the control room. It was a tense silence, broken only by the hum of the mothership systems and the hurried breaths of his students. Time to deliver his punchline. All right, Xylox, Carl began, his voice deceptively casual. Here's the deal. We've disabled your primary defenses. Earth's fleet is on their way. We can either talk peace or watch things go boom. Your choice. Xylox's red eyes flickered with controlled rage. You think you can force the Zarkan Empire into submission with parlor tricks? Carl chuckled darkly. Not parlor tricks, Commander. Strategy, empathy, things that have kept humans alive this long. We're not going down without a fight, but we'd prefer a dance. Vic Claw stepped forward, his posture a mixture of defiance and loyalty. Father, listen to him. Our strength doesn't come from annihilation alone. It comes from understanding our enemy. Xylox's gaze bore into his son, a flash of disappointment clouding his features. You have been poisoned by his words. Zarkon warriors do not parley. Lila, standing next to Carl, chimed in. With respect, Commander, maybe it's time we do. Look at where it has gotten us. She gestured around the control room, the muted chaos serving as a testament to their successful infiltration. Xylok's face twisted in contemplation. Carl seized the moment, pushing forward. Listen, big guy. Survival isn't just about crushing your enemies. It's about finding common ground. You're smart, smarter than most humans. I'll give you that. But what's the point of being smart if you can't adapt? A pregnant pause filled the air. The commander's expression softened marginally, suspicion giving way to consideration. What terms do you propose, clown? Carl's heart thudded, but he kept his tone light. Ceasefire, mutual understanding. We work together to explore what we have in common, exchange knowledge, rituals, even humor. In return, Earth agrees to meet you halfway with resource sharing and diplomatic ties. No tricks, just cooperation. Xylox mulled over the proposal, his eyes flicking from Carl to his son, and finally to Lila. You're suggesting a merger of cultures? Carl nodded. Exactly. We get stronger together. No one ever expects the circus clown to be the hero, but guess what? Here we are. The tension in the room was palpable, but Carl refused to waver. He saw the shift in Xylox's eyes, a calculated consideration, the weighing of risk against potential reward. The commander finally extended a hand. Very well, it's a gamble, but one I'm willing to take, for now. Carl shook his hand, a rush of relief flooding through him. That's the spirit. Now let's make this official before either of us changes our mind. With the command center secured, Carl coordinated with Earth's fleet, establishing a holding pattern while details were hammered out. The Zarkan students watched, a mixture of awe and respect in their eyes. They had done it, together. As they left the mothership, Vikla approached Carl, his usual haughtiness tempered. You've earned our respect, human. I didn't expect to learn anything from this. Carl clapped Vikla on the shoulder. Sometimes the best lessons come from the unlikeliest places. Remember that. Back on Earth, the celebrations were tempered by the enormity of what lay ahead. Building a lasting peace would require work, understanding, and endless negotiation. But for now, there was hope. Lila found Carl amidst the subdued jubilations. Do you really think this will work? Carl sighed, a dark humor tingling at the edge of his mind. Kid, life's a gamble, but we've stacked the deck a bit. Humor, strategy, empathy. Sounds like a winning hand to me. As the first tentative steps toward cooperation began, Carl felt a rare sense of fulfillment. He had pulled off the greatest trick of his life, turning a classroom into a battlefield, and a battlefield into a classroom. And somewhere amidst the chaos, he found a way for humans and Zarkons to laugh together. Class dismissed, he whispered to himself, watching the stars, a cosmos of infinite possibilities, twinkling with promise.